So weird. So when I was rehearsing this talk, I realized that eating food was a good thing because I totally passed out. So yeah, I drank water, so we're good. I was baptized, born, and raised Catholic, and you'd think, like, with that kind of foundation, that my faith would be a lot more firm, but at the time it wasn't. And part of that was because I didn't really understand what Catholic meant. Like, I knew some of the Ten Commandments, and I knew that going to Mass on Sunday was really important, but that was about it. Some of the problem was because the Catholic school I went to wasn't really all that Catholic. They put so much emphasis on education and not enough on religion. So, like in 7th grade, I didn't even know what transubstantiation was. And so, it's kind of a big deal. The biggest problem, though, is not the school, but the fact that I lacked the initiative to actually seek out the truth on my own. And I had no like persistence to like seek out the faith or anything because I didn't really have any reason to. And I kind of used Catholic as like a title, like because everyone in our faith, like everyone in our family called each other Catholic. But I could have easily just used Lutheran or Protestant or anything else as my title because my way of life didn't reflect what I called myself. At the start of 8th grade, my dad lost his job and we were forced to move to Georgia. And during that time, our whole family became homeschooled, like my mom started homeschooling us. And homeschooling did bring us a little closer to God. We started praying more, and we went to daily Mass at the lovely hour of 8 a.m. But I got up every morning at 7:30 in the morning, knowing that this was important, but not really knowing why. And no cards are awesome. So yeah, fast forward a while, and my dad ended up finding a new job, yay, in Texas, also yay, no offense, Georgia. We rented a house here in Keller, and we ended up going to C's because it was the closest Catholic church to where we lived. And bonus points, it was really pretty. That's what it is. I noticed that here, though, everyone seemed to have a different reverence about them than ever, like any other church we had ever been to. Like, it was just different, as if, like, Jesus was there or something. Up until this point, everyone in our family had been confirmed at 8th grade during grade school. But since we moved before 8th grade, I hadn't been confirmed yet. So we realized I should probably get confirmed. I had an assignment for school, and it was to read about a saint and write a report about him. I kind of took this as like a 2-for-1 deal since I didn't have a confirmation saint yet. So I was like, hey, I chose John Vianney as my saint, and I began reading about him. And he spent most of his time instructing the indifferent, and I learned about his selfless love towards God and others. And every time, like everything I read about him, I just wanted to be more and more like him. So I chose him as my confirmation saint. And soon after, I went on the retreat, and the retreat taught me that being Catholic doesn't just happen one day of the week. Being Catholic is every single day of every single week, all the time. Like that's our call, is to be Catholic every day of the week. After the retreat, I wanted to dive even deeper. I was just on the surface, and I wanted to learn so much more. So I figured out why the Mass was important, and why the Eucharist was so important, and everything. And I began to take my faith more seriously. I sought out Jesus in the Blessed Sacrament, and I clung to him. And throughout this process of discovering why my faith was important, I learned that now it was my job to spread what I learned with everyone else. It was my call to holiness, to teach what I had learned to everyone else. Also during this time, my dad converted to Catholicism, which just made me even more excited and even more passionate. I began to live my life with the intent of putting God above all else. The first thing I did to answer my call to holiness was to join the CIA, which is a group of youth, you may have heard of them, and their goal is to inspire the minds of others to be disciples of Christ. I began other volunteer work as well, such as going to the nursing home and praying with the residents there. I also donated food and clothing to the homeless, and I prayed outside of worship clinics. My spirituality grew as well. My reception of the sacraments became much more frequent, and I began to know Jesus as more of a personal level rather than just like a biblical perspective. I went on other retreats and events too, which included Youth 2000, Camp Woodworth, and the March for Life in Washington, D.C. Once I finally began living as a Catholic, I realized that it isn't something we do, but something we are. One of the coolest parts about our faith is that we are not separate, but rather one body that shares the same ultimate goal of bringing others to holiness.